Good evening, everyone. We appreciate you being with us for our work session for February, and next week will be our regular board meeting, but we appreciate all of you being here with us. At the beginning of our meetings, we start with a moment of silence, and we would invite you to join with us, please. Just a moment of silence. Thank you. Excuse me. And Faith, are you going to go first? And if you will introduce our student, she'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll invite everybody to join us for the pledge. So let her come stand in front of the camera. We need her to be on film, too.
This is the lovely Jasmine Hughes. She is our student body president at Seneca Middle School, and she wanted you to know that she feels underdressed because she has just walked off of track practice. She literally sprinted here. So Jasmine is going to lead us in the pledge.
Okay, if y'all would join us. Okay.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And are you going to go first?
Yes, my principal, Cindy, this evening to represent Seneca Middle School. If we haven't met, my name is Faith Davis. I serve as the Director of Student Services at Seneca Middle School. Tonight, I was told I only had a couple of minutes to convey to you what Student Services is about. That's an impossible task because in almost 4 years in that position, no 2 days have ever been alike. So instead, I've prepared for you a flyer. If you want to kind of look at that as I go, this flyer just scratches the surface of what we do at Seneca Middle School. But what I want to focus my little bit of time here tonight on is something that is invaluable to all of us, and that is the topic of student truancy. Generally, I am known in the school district for my flashy video presentations that I do for different people and for technology. But tonight, what I'm bringing you is just good, old-fashioned common sense with my lovely dark hands. At the end of the 2012-2013 school year at Seneca Middle School, 83 students missed 10 or more days of unexcused school absence. 13 students missed 20 or more days of unexcused school absence. And 5 students missed over 30 days of unexcused school absence. Not a single medical statement. They didn't have parent notice. They weren't at the funeral home. They just did not come to school. In the fall of 2013, I was hired by Al Leroy in charge of finding a solution to this issue. What did those absences mean in terms of student success? Those 83 students missed, at minimum, the equivalent of 2 weeks in the classroom. For the 13 that missed 20 plus days of school, it was closer to half of the 9 weeks. For the 5 students that missed over 30 school days, it was almost an entire 9 weeks. If you take a look at the bottom of your handout that I've provided for you, I would like to take this moment to thank my Bobcat colleagues for sharing with me what 2 weeks of missed instruction looks like in our core content areas. Just 10 missed school days equals 1 entire chapter of United States history. Over 40 new vocabulary words from all content areas, the entire research process, rough draft, proofreading, and final copy of a major ELA paper. The introduction and practice of 2 to 3 algebraic formulas that will be the basis of math all the way through the 12th grade. The entire chapter of science that covers classification of animal species. That's some big stuff, isn't it? Huge thing. So what we know about those students is that this was just 1 year of truancy. One. At one school in our district. Most of these students had long histories of school absences that followed them all the way through elementary school. And what does that look like in the real world? Consider the penny. All of you have a penny glued to the top of your worksheet. This is where I get a little It's often the dirtiest piece of change in your pocket. Some of us have even been guilty of throwing them away. Car wash vacuum cleaners all over Oconee County tonight have a ton of these in the bottom of them. The penny. It takes a long time to use them just as they are, but what if these represented school days? Looking at those 83 students, we saw that the average number of days missed per student was 18. 18 days missed of instruction. Multiplied by the number of students who missed 10 or more unexcused school days that year, the number was 83, comes to almost 1,500. 1,500 missed complete school days of instruction at one school year. In the almost 4 years that I have been working at Seneca Middle School, the program that we implemented there has saved that school a minimum each of the 4 years of 1,000 of those days. 1,000 has been our minimum saved every year over that 1 year. This year, we're on track to save 1,300 days of missed instruction. 1,300. We know from Ms. Hughes, who looks at district level school attendance daily, that Seneca Middle School is now a leader in consistent student attendance. In the world of pennies, that savings of 1,000 pennies amounts to $10. For me and you, that's lunch at the Walhalla Steakhouse if we skip the Snickers pie, right? But in the world of student success and achievement, this amounts to a lifetime of shopping carts full of groceries. Attached to your handout is an email transmission that I received today. You'll take a look at that from the Human Resources Coordinator at a local manufacturer. I've had many of these conversations this year with business owners and major employers, as Student Services is also currently providing a career education piece to all 808 of our students. Poor attendance is a clog in the blood flow between the conjoined relationship of our local economy and our schools. Keeping the flow healthy is a task that must be done meticulously and on a daily basis. A proactive program like the one we use at Seneca Middle School, implemented district-wide, doesn't just make sense. It's money you can take to the bank. I'm going to leave these pennies here for the rest of this evening for a reason. Because I hope that as you look at them, that you'll contemplate how long it would take you to use them, each one, just as they are. But also how interested you would be in rolling them up and making them something that we can all cash in. I would also like to extend an open invitation to our school board members, our district leadership, to come visit Seneca Middle School's Student Services Department. I'll even take you on a home visit if you would like to go. We know that you will love what you see. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fanny. Mr. Roberts.
Good evening. As always, it's a pleasure to be here and get to share some of the great things going on at Seneca High with you guys. Before we move into the part of our presentation where we're going to talk about a wonderful program we have, we've got an outstanding student that we'd like to celebrate today. So this is a certificate of presentation, and I'm going to read this, and then we will set up to honor this student at her request in front of the school board. The United States Merchant Marine Academy, located at Kings Point, New York, on the north shores of Long Island, is one of 5 federal academies. Nominated by Congressman Jeff Duncan, Dakota Lee Morrow is one of approximately 250 appointees selected to attend the academy from around the nation and the world out of over 2,200 applicants. Completion of the intensive 4-year regimental and academic curriculum, which includes 3 trimesters at sea on the United States flag merchant vessels and the United States Navy ships, as well as an internship, leads to a Bachelor of Science degree, a United States Merchant Marine officer's license as either a deck officer or engineering officer, and an ensign's commission in the United States Navy Reserve. An appointment to the Academy is the equivalent of a scholarship worth approximately $250,000 over 4 years. This remarkable achievement reflects great credit on Dakota and demonstrates that she already living up to the Academy's motto, acta non verba, deeds not words. I take great pleasure and consider it a high honor on behalf of Rear Admiral James Heelis, Academy Superintendent, Dr. Thorsland, Mr. Nabnett, the board, the school district, and Seneca High School to recognize the appointment of Dakota Lee Morrow to the United States Merchant Marine Academy, class of 2021. We're very proud. At this time, we would like to call Dakota up. She will be joined by her father, Brooks Morrow, her grandmother, Pat Morrow, and Colonel Craig Wells from Seneca High School Junior ROTC. If you guys would come up.
Sit right here so the camera can get you. Everybody else, if you'll come stand behind.
Should I go ahead and sign it? Sure. All right.
Very good.
I prepared a little speech, if that's okay with you guys.
Yes.
Could you come stand at the mic?
Yes,
so we
come
get
right
that
over
on?
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they'll have you mic'd up real well.
Sounds good.
There you go.
All right. Well, it is an honor for me to be here tonight. I have this quote that I really love. It's by Stephen Covey. It is, "Values determine behavior, and principles determine the consequences of behavior." This quote has been a recurring passage throughout my entire education. I first heard the quote when I was in first grade at Ravenel. The meaning of the passage is that time... The meaning of the passage at the time eluded my 6-year-old mind. I ran into the same quote 5 years later as I walked the halls of Seneca Middle. It appeared again in the JROTC room in the 9th grade. Over the span of the 18 years, my father told me I know over 1,000 times, behavior determines consequences, good or bad. It was up to me to decide what I wanted to do and become. Over the past 4 years at Seneca High, I have come to realize the importance of strong values and the role they play in helping determine life's ambitions and goals. My values are God, family, work, friends, and community. These values are the foundation for my principles that I will take to the United States Merchant Marine Academy and into my career as a naval officer and engineer in the Merchant Marines. I've also come to realize that it takes a village to raise a child. I am thankful that I grew up in the Golden Corner of South Carolina. Other than being raised by a single father, who I publicly recognize for his sacrifices and dedication to my success, I want to recognize 3 additional mentors in front of the board that have provided me with additional moral fiber that I will take past college and into career in my adulthood. That would be Coach Chris White, who couldn't make it today, Colonel Wells, and Mr. Fred Edgerton. These 3 men have helped me mold my character and personality, and I'm truly thankful for God putting them in my life and in my path. Thank you for your time and what you do for the Oconee County school system.
I think it's important to also mention that Dakota's following in the footsteps of family legacy, so to speak. Her uncle also attended the Merchant Marine Academy, and she's also going to run cross country as a student. So Dakota, we're very proud of you. Yeah. All right. At this time, I want to talk to you about other other than graduation, probably my favorite day of the year at Seneca High School. This day is Shop with the Bobcat, and I thought, rather than me stand here and talk with you like we normally do, that I would bring the gentleman and lady up that actually are responsible for bringing this wonderful program to Seneca High. So over the past 2 years, they have raised over $25,000 to provide at-risk students in the Seneca area with a Christmas that they'll never forget. So at this time, I want to bring up Mr. Carson LeCroy. His wife, Sarah, would be here. She heads up this program as well, but she's one of our cheerleading coaches, and they're in the middle of a playoff game right now. So Carson's going to handle this for her.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. When Mr. Roberts charged us with this One Seneca initiative last year, I was in charge of student government at the time as well, and what we were trying to think of things that could really rally our community, and this Shop with the Bobcat was born. Headed up by student government, we decided to hopefully make a Christmas experience of a lifetime come true for Seneca area children who normally experience hardship this time of year. So I worked closely with the guidance counselors at the 3 Seneca elementary schools to identify these awesome 100 students that would participate in Shop with the Bobcat. You can see some of these awesome pictures of our event this year. So this was our second year, 2.0, of Shop with the Bobcat, and it was our goal to give every student a $100 gift card to Walmart. And the stipulations were, we want you to spend money on your family first. Buy something for mom, dad, brother, sister, and then spend money on yourselves. And what really touches your heart is that a bunch of these kids didn't even want to buy anything for themselves. They wanted to buy something for their family. This is, many of them, the first time being able to really give a gift to mom that was actually from them. And just seeing that joy on their face, giving to others, man, that was such an awesome experience. This year, our goal of 100 students didn't seem, or was awesome. We had the money for it, but we had a little issue getting to 100. We were 2 children short at the Collins Children's Home of having all of those students at the Seneca School. So we said, you know what's 2 more kids? So we actually had 102 students this year participate in Shop with the Bobcat. We paired those students with our students, thus the name, Shop with the Bobcat. So we had students represented from athletics, clubs, band, you name it, that were paired with these awesome little children you see here. This is when they're first arriving at Seneca High School. We had the drumline waiting on them and everything, and they had a blast. We start off by feeding them breakfast. Bojangles donated a bunch of biscuits for us at breakfast. They met their students. There were many tears when they had to say goodbye at the end of the day. We took them to Walmart, where they spent their $100, had a good time shopping with their Bobcat, and then we took them back to Seneca High School, where we had our gold gym set up like a winter wonderland. There was Santa. We wrapped all the presents they had just bought for their family. We had cookie decorating. And then this year, the big addition was an awesome petting zoo provided by our FFA. We had a miniature horse. We had those miniature jumping goats that were awesome. We had a skunk. You name it. It was an incredible experience for the kids and as well as our students. I mean, yes, we're getting to help these families and these little kids, but seeing the joy on our high school students' face to see them grow and to put them in a position of leadership was almost just as rewarding as seeing the look on the little ones' faces. We couldn't do it without partnering with our community. About half the money was probably donated from local businesses, and the other half was just from families. They were just pouring out their love on these for these children and those families this time of year. This year we also had the addition of shirts, so every student got to take a t-shirt with them home, as well as all the gifts that they bought for themselves and their family. And it was such a rewarding experience. So I could watch the slideshow all day. It's like 10 minutes long, so there's no way we're gonna make it through just me standing here. But I couldn't get any shorter. I couldn't take any more pictures out. This is easily the most rewarding experience I've had as a teacher so far in my 3 years. And I can't wait to do it next year.
If I could add something, Carson also joined us last week for the principals meeting. He is one of our teachers who's attempting to possibly follow into administration, so kind of our grow our own initiative. We look forward to a long career for Carson here in our county.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Carson.
And when we told Carson, I mean, he and Sarah have presented this program, of course, to numerous civic groups, Rotaries, the district meetings that rotate through our building. So when I mentioned to him that we were going to bring him up and have him present it to you guys, I didn't tell him that one of the reasons is I wanted to recognize he is there in front of the board. So I'm going to present Carson with these certificates of recognition for all of his hard work. I think that he really represents what we talk about when we say grow our own. We're very lucky to have him choose to come back from Georgia to continue being a Bobcat. So,
That's great.
Carson,
Thank you so much.
great job.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts, too. And try to make all those playoff games tonight.
Let us know how it goes.
That's right. All right. And with that, then we'll move on to if we can get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda for the February 13th, 2017 work session agenda.
Motion and a second. Motion and a second. Anybody see anything that needs addressing? Hearing none, all in favor? It's unanimous. Next, we have public comment. Do we have,
Yes, sir.
okay.
We have two speakers for public comment tonight, and the first speaker will be Tony Adams.
The last time I talked to you guys, I was representing an informal group of people that was interested in saving the Oakway School buildings. Tonight, I'm here to represent the Fair Oak Youth Center. At that time last year, Dr. Thorson has made an offer to transfer ownership of the Oakway property to the county. And I just came to tell you we appreciate that offer, and we would do what we could with it. And I'm hoping tonight that you guys put the final stamp of approval on it from the school district standpoint, and then Mr. Davis here to take over the county, and we can finally get it done.
Take over the county?
Take over for the county.
Oh, okay.
For the county. No. But anyway, you remember I said that when you offered it to the county, I said they'd have to bicker and argue about it for a while? How long's that been? Due diligence took 180 days instead of 90. I guess that's typical. But but lots changed since I talked with you last. Last spring, I talked with Mr. Harry about the Oakway property, and he mentioned the Fair Oak Youth Center fields in fair play, and I was not aware of them. I rode down there and looked at them, and they look great, you know. And Mr. Harry expressed an interest to see more interaction cooperation athletically between Fair Play, Oakway, and Westminster area. And merging the Oakway property into the Fair Oak Youth Center was almost a natural fit. It saved us a lot of time. The Fair Oak Youth Center was already chartered as a nonprofit corporation, which probably saved us 6 months and got us ahead of the county. If it hadn't been for that, we'd probably been behind the county. But a lot's happened since that time. Why I'm here tonight is to thank the school district for everything you've done to support us. Everybody that's involved with the Fair Oak Youth Center, especially our youth basketball program right this time, realizes what you guys have done. And even some of you guys may not really realize everything that has been done. So let me summarize some of them. First, you gave us permission to use the gym for youth basketball. Mr. Thorson, you've attended at least one game because I saw you down there. You've kept the utilities turned on. You can't play in the dark. You put up backboards. You finished the floor, refinished the floor. You left the bleachers. You left the scoreboard. You put bulbs in the scoreboard where they were burned out. You put new light bulbs in the gym ceiling lights that was burned out. And just recently you installed a new compressor in the central heat and air unit that serves the reception area that the sheriff is going to be moving into. And I like to think you get a little return on your investment, and that's going to continue. In return for your support, you've helped form 7 new youth basketball teams. A lady was talking about the 6 and under. I believe her team played on. That's a hoot.
It is.
When I started in this, I said, I got to see that. You know, I just got to see it. And it was hilarious. It's amazing to see how much they've improved. First time they started practice, the first time they had a full court practice, they went down on the offense and the team come back on defense, 3 of them laid down right on the free throw line. Coach come up and said, y'all got to get up, you're going to play basketball. so it's been a hoot. Another thing that provided space for the West Oak High boys and girls basketball teams to practice, and that will continue. And I run that by Mr. Davis here, and he said he didn't think the county would have a bit of problem with that. So anytime you have a need, you know, I know Wrestling was taking the gym over 1 week. They were working on one of the floors 1 week, and they practiced a good bit over at Oakway. So anytime that's needed, let the athletic director up there, and I'll probably let him know too, he's welcome to use it. We've also provided some space for the Westminster recreation teams. We've had a couple of teams that, you know, they don't have the rec space up there, and they'd ask if we could use it. And we said, sure. And there's one now that's in the county tournaments and doing pretty good team, and they're going to be using it some this week. So we want to continue that too. And Fair Oak Youth Center has a lot of plans for the future. We're in the process of purchasing a nice volleyball set to install in the gym. You know, the kind with the pedestals in the floor and such as that. Tara Swain Burnett was all-state volleyball. She's agreed to have a summer program over there. Okay. Some of our basketball coaches in our youth league have agreed to open the gym for summer basketball for the kids. And we plan on offering other sports. We looked at baseball and softball this year, and we just didn't quite have our act together quick enough. We're a little behind in the curve, so we're not going to offer that this year, but we hope to hit the ground running next year. Volleyball is just starting big in the county, so we hope to get in on that next year too. But another thing too, we're planning, you know, last year, May the 4th, we had a homecoming reunion. Well, sometimes in May, hopefully a little bit before the 14th, we're just in preliminary plans to have a grand Oakway reopening. And we want to introduce all our tenants in the building. If everything falls into place, we've got the whole building leased out except for 4 rooms. Okay. And with organizations that really benefit the community. Okay. We want to have some entertainment, you know, and just basically have a good time. Where we was thinking about being closed last year, we won't think about reopening this year, which it will be. And tomorrow night, I know Terry Swain she's really got into this. You know, you got to remember her. She coached at Oakway. She coached at Westminster. Her husband too. When we first started working over there at the gym, I got a kick out of Tim and Miss Terry, and you can appreciate this. Terry and I were over in the corner talking, and Tim was just walking around, just looking. Went downstairs, you know, to where the boys' locker room was at. Here he come back up the side, and he got over there, and he said, I spent a lot of my life in this place. And he was just reminiscing as he was walking by. Him and Jim Abrams made those practice boards on each side. They got a grant from Strom Thurmond. They had those new locker rooms at the gym. And it included some in-kind work. Something that wasn't happening this day. Tim got some of his athletes out, and they dug the footings for those locker rooms at the in-kind service. because there's a lot of history there. And Terry will be making a presentation to Mr. Davis's Building Facilities and Real Estate Committee tomorrow night. And she's got some footage of our basketball games, statistics, and what we plan for the future. It couldn't have been done without her and Tim either, especially Terry. She's a bulldog. In closing, I believe we're well on our way to making Mr. Herring's vision a reality. I just want him to know that we listen to him a lot better now than we did back in 1960.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Julian Davis.
All I can say is you give the Fair Play and Oakaway something to work with, you better be ready to run, because they're gonna run slap over you. But no, yeah, it's been an awesome experience. I just want to take this time tonight. First off, it's an honor to be up here speaking to y'all. Appreciate all that y'all do, and for the school district of Oconee County. And I just wanted to tell you tonight, thank you for the partnership between the school district and the county. It's working together in little projects like this that helps get things accomplished around here. And it's the communication that we provide that gives us success that we all desperately want. It takes citizens taking initiatives such as the Oakaway School and running with it and doing more than a lot of people ever thought was possible in the short time that we've had. You just heard from one citizen that's told you about how it's already making an impact. And that was our whole goal with even looking at taking over the Oakaway, was to make an impact in our area, and people have really loved that. At the end of the day, that's what each of us strives to do, is to impact the lives of citizens, whether it's kids and everything else. So I just want to stand here tonight and tell you thank you, and I appreciate the partnership that we have together.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Anyone else? That's it? Okay. Well, then we'll move on. Dr. Thorsland.
Well, I stole one of Mr. Hamby's agenda items, actually, but
Take a few more.
Has been a change with the school calendar. This year, 2017, school was due to start on August the 21st, which is the latest the third Monday could be, which, of course, that pushes our days as far as they can, beyond the Christmas break for the first semester to end. And you approved a calendar, and it was the best we could do under the circumstances. Well, August the 21st happens to be an eclipse, and it's a full solar eclipse where it will be dark in the middle of the day. And in Oconee County, it's as late as possible in South Carolina for that to happen. And if you follow the path of like complete darkness across the United States, it goes right over Oconee County. So it will be dark here about 2:42, I think is the exact timing of our elementary schools dismiss at 2:45. Now that's problematic. So we wanted to, some districts are just canceling school that day. They don't want to deal with it, the danger of letting kids look up and things like that. I, for one, just feel like that's a teachable moment. That's why we exist. That's what we're here for. So we're wanting to just extend the school day 15 or 20 minutes so that we'll run buses late. And because of the staggered start, this will also push middle school and high school dismissal back 15 minutes or so. But the legislature, because the 21st, so many school districts were starting, they have put in some legislation to give us leniency on that for 1 year, just this year only. So they're going to possibly allow us to start the 17th, which is the Thursday prior to that 21st. We feel like the first day of school is already chaotic. You throw in the eclipse and all that, it'd be really crazy. So we want to take advantage of those 2 days. We think that the legislature is going to make a decision in February. What we're kind of asking for tonight is for you to possibly even go ahead and vote on we vote next week. Your vote would essentially be if the legislature grants, the ability to change. We'd like to change our calendar to start on that Thursday prior. We've made some accommodations. If a teacher, for example, has planned a week at the beach, and now those 2 in-service days would affect them, we would certainly grant them leave on those days and that kind of thing. So we've tried to think about all the ramifications, but we think it will be in our best interest to start that Thursday prior if the legislature gives us that ability.
Students won't, if the students were going that week, they don't officially enroll until they show up. So we wouldn't drop them or their schedule or anything, but they wouldn't lose their perfect attendance or whatever, even if they went 178 out of 100.
If we go ahead and announce it, then
Right.
parents can kind of start planning that way.
Well, and some are going to say, well, you announced the other one and we planned it. We understand that. That's why we do this, but it also gives us 2 more instructional days in that we could get in before testing. There was some push in the accountability section down at the State Department that said, you know, we have graduation set for the second, and that we couldn't graduate our seniors before we finished day 180. And in our calendar we approved, we had 3 days after for our non-seniors after graduation. And there was talk about that, giving some pushback, and maybe they've lightened up on that, but that still could be an issue. You know, we've got tentatively Littlejohn reserved for June 2nd, and this will get our days in before that. If we don't use the makeup day, then we take that day on the 4th and just move it to Friday the 1st. You know, that's typically after the week after we have our Summer Institute anyway. So all those things combined make it a deal for us where the earlier we can start, we think, is the better.
And kind of before we made an official recommendation on extending school the 21st to make sure kids would, you know, be able to safely view the eclipse and learn about it in school, we ran that by our parent advisory, which we had a week and a half ago, and the parents were enthusiastic about doing that, you know, extending the school day for long enough to keep it safe, and so we feel like that's a good plan, and Ginger's team's going to work on resources so that all of our schools can teach it. If a family does want to do something special for their own children and go, I know Chattooga Bells is going to do some kind of celebration for people. You know, if a family wants to do that, fine, come sign your kid out at lunchtime and go do it. But many of our kids wouldn't get that opportunity, and we want them to learn in school.
Good idea. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Hamby.
Okay, we're going to talk about the financial report for January, and if I could just get you to turn your attention to the, I think it's page 4, but the page with the checks that are over $10,000. And if you look down through there, I'll have to see where it is. About a little over halfway down, there's a check that says South Carolina DHEC Bureau of Water for $13,200. We just wanted you to know that that came out of a situation at Ravenel. That was a situation, of course, Ravenel is a unique situation in that we moved a lot of dirt, and the way the hills and slopes are there. We had a small incident with, it was less than a wheelbarrow full of silt that maybe got into a little stream off to the side, and we had our contractors working on it, we had our subs working on it, and we also have our third-party inspectors who we pay separate to make sure it's being done right. And it was sort of a combination of all three of them not necessarily staying on top of this one. So that we were given that fine. Everything has been corrected.
Why wouldn't those three divide that up and pay?
They divided it up evenly.
Okay.
They divided it up $4,400 a piece is how they divided it up.
But as the owner, DHEC sends the
bill. But we sent it in our name. They sent their checks to Ms. Moore, and we did one check from here. So that's why I want you to know that we did not have to pay that. We were covered in that. Mr. Alexander and I met with them on numerous occasions. We were adamant that they were going to, and they did, and they got everything fixed. It looks great now, but it just took a little more time than we thought. We're all clear. We've got the clearance from DHEC. We have moved forward, but that's just an odd one that you see on there, and I wanted to just be full disclosure and get that one out there to you. So not putting the blame on anybody, and it didn't do anything that would be damaging to the environment that we're worried about. But, when you get a fine like that, it's serious, and we addressed it, we took the corrective action, and we are moving forward now. So now if there are other questions, I'll let Ms. Moore answer those.
Anybody have any questions, see anything? Everything seems to be on track.
Well, in the end of January, we were at about 45% of our revenue for the year.
Is the county paying us like they're supposed to? If they're not, we can get
Well, yes, they are.
Good.
Following the letter of the law, they are. But I did get information about the collections for January, and the cutoff was the 17th before you have to pay the late fees. And our check is going to be about $25 million. So thanks to Duke Power for paying their bill and for everyone else that paid theirs. So that'll put us at about 73% of our revenue for this year. So we're doing good.
Other questions about the financial report? We're close on that back page with capital expenditures. We're close to, wrapping up Fair Oak and closing. We got just a few outstanding things that are bills and things that Scott Orr would have to clean up to get a final number and get them off. And then, of course, we're moving forward with the West Oak High and the Walhalla Elementary projects, and those are going. In fact, if you go by West Oak this week, you'll see some action out there around the athletics area beginning, and you already see some stuff dirt being moved behind Walhalla Elementary.
There's still not a concern of them being finished by next.
Not a concern, it's probably not the right phrasing, Mr. Navin. We still think we're going to be okay if the weather cooperates. The first game they play is away, so that gives us an extra one. So they don't have a home game the first game. Don't look over here like that, Mr. Herron, I know.
There's some concern.
There is concern.
There is concern.
Trail understands the sense of urgency we have with that, and they're moving. They're gonna move as fast as they can move. So,
The weather will help us.
And we'll keep you posted on those as we go. We have a couple of policies that Ms. Hughes has worked on with some other districts around, and things we just needed to clean up a little bit. At the beginning of the year, it's amazing. We have a lot of folks come in and say, Johnny's parents dropped him off with me. I'm taking that care now. We don't really hear from the parents. We have some who, the parents may be out of town, gone, they may be incarcerated, just a lot of different scenarios that come into play. And for us to try to clean this up, we also have some people who come in who maybe didn't get school choice, and now they come in and say, well, I'm going to live with my cousin over here in this attendance area so I can go to the school that I didn't get school choice for. So it's hard for Ms. Hughes to say, yeah, this one sounds legitimate and this one doesn't. So we talked to districts around, and we wanted to update our guardianship affidavit, maybe puts a little more bite to it, and make sure that we're trying to hold folks accountable. We want to serve the kids we're supposed to serve where we're supposed to serve them. That is not a question. But there's lots of times when a kid may just come from another county or another state and live with somebody, and we're having to figure out, do we serve them? Do they have custody? Do they have what they need? So we want to update these guardianship, this affidavit, and make some changes. It gets in line more with what Greenville, Pickens, and some of those around us are doing. And the biggest thing you see down there on that is F, and it talks about the reasons why there are some with military. It talks about 6 is being blocked out. They don't want where they're not saying they're moving there because they want to go to a particular school. We have school choice, which allows people to do that. And then, of course, the big statement in bold there is, and Ms. Hughes had to use it today with somebody on a different one, is that, you need to be telling us the truth. If we find out you're not, then we're going to hold you accountable, is what it amounts to. So we want to work on that, and in line with that, is a form that she basically created from theirs, the custodial parent affidavit, where we meet with that parent and they're making sure they are okay with us saying this. Because when you do the affidavit, basically you're giving up the right of the school to represent the child. I mean, you're putting it in on somebody else. So that's a lot of responsibility on both parties. So we're just trying to clean these things up and make sure that, our kids are getting what they need, but that people aren't taking advantage of situations to get what they want maybe. Maybe a school was closed for school choice because it was crowded and they didn't get in and they're going to want to go. Maybe a kid didn't pass. It's all we've always had it, but we think this will help make it a little bit easier for Ms. Hughes when it comes to those decisions, rather than saying, okay, well, we believe what you say. It puts a little more teeth to it.
Steve, I hope you don't run into a problem. I notice on each form, you've got custodial on one, and you have guardianship on the other.
I'll get her to match those up.
Here's the problem that I personally ran into in trying to get my granddaughter a driver's license. I have custody and have had custody of her since she was 9 months old. I go to the highway department with custody papers.
Mm-hmm.
They refused to let me sign for her because it didn't say guardianship.
Okay.
So you might want to check on those
We'll
two
investigate that
words
before
right
you
there.
approve. We bring it up for a vote.
That's
Okay.
something that has been a little
Well, thank
bit,
you
there's
for
been a lot
bringing
of
that up.
controversy on that for a while now.
Okay.
Those-
We'll do a little
those two
research on that and see what we need to do, but thank
But
you
is
for
there anything
bringing that up.
that requires, like in your case, that you should do to be guardianship as well as
Well, the
opposed
court
to custodial care?
When we got custody, that was the term that they used, and I feel like the word custody trumps guardianship.
I would think so
But
too.
the attorneys in Columbia don't feel that way. They said, no, absolutely not. So I actually had to get her mother to come and sign the papers for her to be able to get a driver's license.
Wow. Okay,
So
we'll definitely
those
investigate
two
that.
words are not that compatible in that situation. So
They're not interchangeable. is what
They're
you-
not
okay.
interchangeable there. I don't know where this
Okay.
would have any
That makes sense.
influence on this.
We'll
or not.
investigate that and we'll have a update. If we need to update the version, we'll have it before the next meeting. Okay. And then, the one that Mr. Davis is waiting on, and for full disclosure, I know Tony left, but for full disclosure, we had a closing date that was offered to us in the middle of last month, about mid-January. And when they came to do that, we said, well, Dr. Thorson signed for the district and so on and so forth. And they said, well, we need the minutes that show the board gave him the authority to sign and make this move. And poor Ms. Gibson went back looking for a while. And we all thought that we talked about it so much we thought we had voted on it, and just, we haven't voted on it yet. So we've been thanked for it. We've been told they appreciate it. We've paid a few extra bills and got some things right out there. But hopefully, as of tomorrow, it will be the county's, because I'm going to ask that you officially vote tonight to make sure that we can sell that property to them.
We should have voted earlier, because then they could have paid for all those.
Yeah, exactly right. It worked out well for them. That compressor we just had to put in last week.
Yeah.
But I tell you, Steve,
Stand up there and talk again?
those folks out there have really worked hard
No.
on it. They
Oh,
have
they
done
have?
a good job.
Yeah.
of
Glad
putting
to
it
do it.
together.
I think it's a good move.
So we ask that you all approve this and allow Dr. Thorson to sign on behalf of the district, and we're gonna sign them as quick as we can sign them,
Matter
and
of
we're
fact, there's a
gonna,
closing tomorrow.
Closing is
at 12,
tomorrow,
I think.
yeah.
So I'm gonna sign sometime before that. If you give me that authority.
yeah, if you give him that authority.
I thought we'd already done it.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Do you want a motion on that?
It's
Down, that comes up in a little while, I think.
Oh, okay.
We'll do
Sorry
it.
about
Yeah,
that.
we will. Okay.
All right, now I'll turn it back over to Ms. Moore with the bond resolution.
Okay. It is time to approve the resolution for us to do our annual bond sale, and that will be next month. and the amount is not to exceed $14,500,000. And we'll need you to vote next time, not tonight, but next time. So these are the funds that we'll need to continue on with the projects that we have in place, the Walhalla L, West Oak High.
Any questions? And we've met with the bonding attorneys, they've told us what
Yeah. Yes.
the amounts. Okay. Okay. Ms. Hopkins, you're up next.
I will be fairly brief, but I did want to share with you a little bit about our high school registration process and where we're at with that, and also talk with you about our locally board approved courses, as you know, we'll do that. So we are in Canvas at the Seneca High School student and parent course. And I want you to see how parents and students can access information. And specifically, we're going to look at this Common Course Guide link that is here. If you recall, last year we moved the course guide to a Canvas course electronically. And this year we've expanded what that is, and I want you to be able to see that. You can also, by the way, anybody can actually see this course guide just by going to the link, the aconiinstructure.com link, and clicking on Browse Courses, and I'd be happy to show people how to do that. You folks can do that, but since you have Canvas access, you can do this as well. So if a parent or a student goes into the course guide, they'll come to this home page. It gives them a little bit of information, and they'll proceed by clicking on modules, they're becoming very familiar with this process if they've been in here at all now. And so they'll be able to find all kinds of information about what's involved in IGPs, what's necessary for their diploma, what their requirements are, graduation requirements, different honors that can occur, and so forth and so on. And I'm not going to go through all this. I'm going to actually go back. But I want you to see that all of this is here. We are continuing to add to this because now with this being electronic and not something in print, we're adding videos. The Career Center, for instance, is doing a lot of work on a number of things that they're doing. So being able to do photos and videos and student testimonials, this is constantly evolving right now. But if I go back to that home page, what I would like you to see tonight is that we've got a link in here, and this is the new part. This takes us to what we call catalog, the Canvas catalog. And what this does is it allows students to browse all of the high school courses that we have here and find out information about those courses. So right now, as they are going through the process, they can scroll through here and see every high school course that we offer, and I'm having a hard time with the mouse here, but every high school course that we offer in the district. And if they want to narrow their search, I'm sorry if I'm making you crazy, my husband hates when I scroll like that too fast. But if they want to narrow their search, they can click on this categories bit, and they can see by the 16 career clusters courses. They can see by their school, if it's Walhalla or Seneca High School, they can identify that and sort through courses that way. We've got a number of different ways. I'm going to sort by locally board-approved courses since I need to talk with you about that this evening. But you can see just by clicking on that link, now I see the courses that have a tag of being locally board-approved courses in here. And so I can look at those courses and find information, and I'll show you, because I really need you to pay attention to the locally board-approved courses, I'm going to click on the Equine Science 2 course that West Oak High School would like to offer. So if I click through that course and then scroll down, I get more information about the course, and actually I made a mistake, I don't have the course description in here. But if I click on this, click here for full course details, it actually takes me back to Canvas, and it takes me to the course syllabus, so I can see more information about this course. So I can see more and more detailed information, and actually this link would take us here, hopefully, it's working. And it's working, and it's working. And And I am sorry, I am in the wrong course. If you notice that, it says Building 1 syllabus. We've got a link problem with that one. I found the wrong one tonight to be showing you. Let me try and do.
Service learners.
Yeah.
Service.
Got a service lane. Well, I'll pick a different one, but let me go back to all courses and find one that I can feel better about for you here. But essentially, what will happen is students will be able to go in here. I think we'll probably maybe pick one of the English courses. And I'm a little risky here. Actually, teachers will be working on the detail on this week. Come on. There we go. So there should be a course description, course details here. If they click for the full course details, it should take them to the syllabus if it's going where it should go. There we go. That looks better. And so they'll see the details here. And I'm not scrolling well. With various information, standards, the department, and that sort of thing. So that they'll have much more information about the course. They can actually go through and see what all the standards are. Teachers will be working on kind of the scope and sequence so that they'll know what the assignment types are, what kinds of assessments are involved, what kinds of projects and things like that. So again, for you folks, what's going to be really important is that if you would, before next time, if you take a little bit of time to look at those LBA courses, and I lost my login here, so let me do that again. I do want to point out to you that we do have a number of new locally board approved courses that we're asking you to take a look at. And I'm going to get in the back way here, because I bumped myself out. But if we look at those, equine science is one of them. And that's an interesting course in that it is involving some therapy in addition to working with the animals themselves. It would be working with other students to provide some equine therapy. We've done a lot of work. Scott Orr has looked into that from an insurance point of view to make sure that that is not a problem for us. So I want to make sure that I call that out, though, so that you do take time and look at that. And then the other 5 new courses that we think will be locally board approved, although there is some consideration going on by the state right now, are these 5 introduction courses. We've got the Introduction to Building Construction, Machine Technology, Welding Technology, Auto Collision Repair, and Auto Technology. And these are courses that the Hamilton Career Center is hoping to use to give students exposure to the programs that they have there without being fully committed. They would be shorter term courses meant to just kind of give them a sampling or a tasting of the course. The idea would be that students would probably take 2 of those, or maybe even more, but at least 2 to explore those and then make a determination about which career path they would like to proceed in at the Career Center. So we're actually pretty excited about that. We think that, especially with the semester block scheduling, it gives us ways to give students some opportunities to explore things without completely messing up their schedule for 4 years. They can try it on and see how that goes and move forward. So right now, those would be locally board approved courses. The state is considering giving us state codes for those. We've had some conversation with that, but since I don't know for sure that that's going to happen, I'll be asking you to approve those right now as locally board approved courses. But certainly would encourage you to look through the catalog at your leisure and ask any questions that you have. What we hope is that this will create more transparency for students and parents in the community about what's happening instructionally in our programs. Questions on that? Thoughts? Suggestions?
We're already teaching these courses as such.
Not these new ones.
Not the intro ones, but I mean,
Yes,
the
the things that these lead to, we teach.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
We're doing an intro. I think the idea is that students would go into the semester block, they would complete those courses in 9 weeks. So they would go and take 2 different courses. They might take welding and machine tool technology, the intro courses, and then they can make a more informed decision of what they want to do to complete their course of study there. They can try a couple different on for size and see which one they like. And go
That's a
with it.
good idea.
And as you go through the catalog, there are a number of other courses that our high schools are looking to add. Seneca High School, for instance, is looking to add the AP Capstone program, so that would add some courses there. There's some additional English courses that are going on and those kinds of things. So again, to make sure that you have full visibility, you might want to just go ahead and peruse through that, and you can just scroll through that all courses bit. Hopefully, you'll feel good about the program that we're offering. So right now, our students are going through the IGP process. Our counselors and our teachers are working with our students, and we'll see how registration goes, but that is happening. And then we also have the registration where we are registering students, new students and kindergarten students. So the first week in March will be kindergarten roundup, and so anything that we can do to get the word out on that, we are trying to make that happen. And then the last full week in April, and we're going to do pre-K screening a little bit differently this year. The last full week in April is pre-K screening, and what we're doing that week is actually doing screening all week long, including Saturday. So this will be the first year that we do a Saturday screening. But we're going to try and do a really big push. We also are participating in a county-wide event for preschoolers, and we'll have some booths there. We're very appreciative of some of the utility companies in our area. They've been sending out flyers and communications to help us advertise the pre-K screening, and so have had some good support from folks that way as well. So we'll see how that goes. We're hoping to get it. You know, it's always hard to rattle the bushes and get people to think about school next year in April, but that really helps us if we can get the parents to get their children out now so we can get them screened and assessed and get them set up and get those programs filled early. So that's kind of our goal right now. So any questions on any of that?
Good, thank you. Ms. Williams.
Well, tonight, I wanted to give you an update on the South Carolina teacher shortage and recruitment and retention report. Essentially what I did was, there is a 14-page report that I have, but I have condensed it into a one-page report for you, and you can have this or get a copy of this if you like. But I'm not sure if you saw the article. I know Greg Oliver with the Journal asked me for a comment, and some of the other neighboring districts about what we're doing as far as the teacher shortage. In case you didn't know, this school year, for the 2016-17 school year, South Carolina opened school with over 400 vacant positions they did not fill. For us, how does that look in Oconee County? We were fine with the exception of 2 special ed positions, which we filled mid-year with graduates that graduated in December. But this is the report that Sarah does, which is the Center for Recruitment, Retention, and Advancement of Educators. And they put out this report. All 85 school districts send them information regarding their staff, who returned, who left, what reasons, and then they compile the data, and then they just send it out to all of us so that we have an idea of what they call is the supply and demand report. So this is a 3-year report that they did this year, and I thought this would just be interesting that you would want to know. If you look from 2014 to 2015, we're consistently going down with the number of teachers who are not returning to school, to the same teaching position. We're down, we're up to now 6,000, whereas last year we were at 5,000. The number of certified teachers, that second column, who did not return to any teaching position. So that means there are 4,842 teachers who left, which is a lot.
And that includes retirees or just...
Retiring, leaving, so it includes, yeah, it includes everybody. Retiring, moving, whatever, and then just leaving the school district. Then the next interesting column is the third column, the number of graduates who completed the South Carolina Teacher Education Program. So that's decreasing. So in 2014 we had 2,000, now we're down to about 1,800. So we're constantly decreasing in the numbers. And then the last 3 columns just shows within 5 years how many left, within 1 year who left, and then the number of teachers who did not return at all to teaching was 616. And then at the bottom of this page there's a website where you can get the full report. But on the back of this, just to kind of summarize, what I just said, South Carolina started the school year with almost 6,500 teachers not returning. It's up 21%. And then looking at the key findings, that first bullet, 38% left within the first 5 years. So that is interesting to know. You know, what do we do with our teachers within the first 5 years? It's very critical. How do we keep them? How do we keep them supported? All of those are things that I hear. I know I gave you information about what districts were doing to retain teachers and recruit teachers. Yes, they're giving out signing bonuses and things like that, but even with signing bonuses, they're leaving. So there is a lot going on with, you know, just with the paperwork and all the mandates and things, and that's what I hear sometimes is, you know, the paperwork. While I can teach, and we know that the teachers are good with what they're doing, we hear that a lot with special ed and speech teachers. So those are concerns, that things that we're looking at. The second bullet shows that fewer teachers are actually going into education in general. You know, what's happening, they're just not choosing to choose that field of education. And then the third bullet talks about how the shortage varies from grade levels, from high schools to middle schools, and primary and elementary. We see the biggest increase in shortage, because one for a fact that I know is that for a while we didn't have vacancies for elementary. So did a lot of people change their majors and do something else? Yes, they did. Or did some of those folks go into another career path? What we're hearing from the State Department with Superintendent Molly Spearman, they are looking at this closely. She's talking about using common sense in how we're looking at the certification process. They're also talking about promoting and expanding the alternative certification program, where you're looking at folks that don't go into just a traditional educational path. So they're looking at that closely. And then also working closely with higher ed. How do we get students to go into education? So they are talking to each other, because it is a critical field or just a critical need for how we need to support teachers, but then how do we get students into the education field at the college level? What are we doing in Oconee County? One thing that we're doing, March the 1st, we will have a student-teacher interview day. We have about 40 student teachers in Oconee County, and so we're just inviting all of them to sign up to come in for an interview, so that we can reach out to them before they make commitments to other areas or other school districts. Also, we're planning an alternative certification day, where we would get someone from the State Department to come and talk about PACE, which is a program for alternative certification, the ABCTE program, where you can take a test and come back and teach, which we have hired several of those folks, and they've done very well. And then also South Carolina Create, which is a program that not just applies to folks with a degree, it applies to our classified staff. If they're working in the classroom as an aide, they can actually get scholarships and funds to go back to school and get their certification. And actually, that's two of our teachers that we hired in December were aides that actually taught in the class, or in the classroom with teachers teaching in special ed. Another good point that this report shares, it talks about the turnover rate for the school districts. And when I looked at Oconee County, we're actually one of the lowest turnover rates in Oconee County. We have like a 7% turnover rate. Anderson districts 1 through 5 have an 8 to 13%. Pickens County has a 10% turnover rate, and Greenville has an 8% turnover rate. So I think we have a lot to be proud of in Oconee County, getting folks here, but how do we get them to stay? That's critical. So, which you can see with this data, that's becoming increasingly a problem, and we appreciate the support that you give us in giving early contracts and helping to recruit those folks early on. That's very important. So, any questions?
Yeah, I have one. The statistics are amazing, but Is anybody doing any interviews with people who leave to see why they leave specifically? I know we all kind of sit here and kind of, think we know, but, I mean, is it money? Is it, do they do any type of exit interview with people that don't come back?
Yes, they do. We have not done, per se, an exit interview like on a survey type form, but I have talked with staff just to find out. And some of them, at the very onset, may not tell you certain things. So it is still a puzzle to put together to be, would they honestly tell you why they're leaving? Sometimes they'll just say, just for other reasons.
Well, I just wondered if the state was doing anything in that capacity. So
Well, actually,
kind of
with
gauge.
Sarah, with this report, they, like I said, it's never where you can get just some basic data where it's factual, because some people really won't say. But I do know when I do talk to folks, it just says that the demand of what they're asking teachers to do is overwhelming. It's just putting more and more on their plate. And of course, they choose to be an educator because they want to work with students, they want to impact the future, make an impression upon young people. But after a while, if you add that up with all the things that they're asking them to do, that kind of...
They burn out.
Yep.
But back to the recruiting of teachers, do we, I think in the public schools, middle school and high schools, increasing our teacher cadet programs is where it would start before they get to college. I mean, if we can do more to get them interested there.
Yeah, and we have met with our teacher cadet teachers and gone to serve on their committees. I know Dr. Thorsland went to one just a few weeks ago. So we're reaching out. But of course, it also starts in the classroom when they're observing and seeing their teachers. If, their teachers look like they're burnt out and like, do I want to do this? So we are, I have made some personal visits where I have gone and, just sat down. I actually went and talked with a speech teacher and sat down and had lunch with her and just said, tell me what you need. What can we do? Because we need speech teachers. And that's one thing that this report shows, that there are less and less special ed and speech teachers that are out there. Because they have a lot to do. You think about IEPs and entering data and Enrich and all that. And then teaching and meeting with the parents and all those groups. All right, thank you. But again, if you'd like the full copy, I can get it for you. Or you can go to this link at the bottom of the report.
Then, thank you, and then we'll go down to now, Mr. Henry, discussion and possible action on the Oakway property. Does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Henry, Dr. Thornton? If not, we could get a motion then to donate this property to the county. I'll give Dr. Thornton the authority to just go ahead and sign this over for us.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we give Dr. Thorsland the authority to donate the property, the Oakway property, over to the county.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's unanimous.
Take care of that tomorrow morning.
Very good. That'll be a good deal. Next, we have executive sessions. I need a motion to go into executive session for employment recommendations, changes. Get a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go into executive session for employment recommendations and changes.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor. It's unanimous. Thank y'all for being with us.